and welcome back to the channel. I'm away this week, so you'll be seeing videos from all over the place. I'm in Devon, doing a little bit of camping. If you're interested, you want to see what we're doing, Howson IRL channel, we'll see a little bit more about it. So today I want to talk about the future of Manchester United, because there were some cold photos came out of that FA Cup final win, wasn't there? And one of them in particular, with a group of very talented youngsters that have had a big hand, actually, all of them, in United's FA Cup success. Not necessarily the final, the likes of Ahmad having a big say in, obviously, the Liverpool game. But, obviously, following on from one of the best FA Cup finals in, certainly, United's memory. Maybe even, I mean, I'm obviously biased, and so are you, but it was a great FA Cup game, I thought. We want to look to the future. We won the FA Cup our way, I think it would be fair to say, with the United DNA written all over it. I mean, especially the first time ever there's been two teenagers that scored an FA Cup final. And what two teenagers could have done it better, really. That's the United way. Literally wasn't aware of the stat that there's only ever been, prior to last week, two teenagers that have scored in FA Cup finals, both belonging to Manchester United. Now there's four, and all four belong to United. If that isn't football heritage, I really don't know what is football heritage. And we're lucky enough that we've got a squad that has got quite a few very talented, bright young men with the potential to play for the first team for years and years to come. And I think today feels like a really good day to have a look at those young players, hazard a guess at who could take United back to the very top of the mountain and see where they've come in this season. So Kobby Mayu, it feels a little bit unfair to start with someone this good, because I think it's very likely downhill from here in terms of the ones that we're going to be talking about. But let's get him out of the way quickly, because this time last year, what did we know of Kobby Mayu? I think we saw an 8-minute cameo in the league. We saw Ten Hag saying everything the light touches will be yours at the EFL Cup final on the pitch, and Kobby just giving it the full nodding dog, yep, cool, yep, sort of treatment. And then we see him starting on pre-season tour, and I've so covered this already. There's so much that we've said that you've heard already. Yeah, it was tiring. Yeah, the food was good in Sangria. It was shit around. Like you've heard everything that we've got to say about pre-season tour, and you've heard us say we actually think we might beat Real Madrid. You know, if Kobby Mayu would have played. Which, do you know what? Like, at the time of saying it, as it's coming out your mouth, you're kind of going, really, Steve? But then, the longer the season went on with him playing, because it took him a while to get back into the team following his injury, the more true that statement began to look. Because we started pre-season really well, actually. Or he started pre-season really well. I think the A and the B team thing that he was clearly doing on tour, the B team looked better for the large part. But there was some early shoots and early signs that it was going to be a big season for Kobby Mayu, because he was starting in those games with what was considered the A team, or I think what everyone observing was considering the A team. And then we saw why as soon as the season started. He has quality in areas that you forget are even possible for a player at his age. He made 33 appearances. He got 5 goals and 3 assists, which for a defensive midfielder is certainly not slouchy in terms of a return. He gets an FA Cup winning goal. That's a big one. I mean, the confidence he must be stepping out onto the pitch with from the start of next season must be... I bet if you could bottle it, you could sell it, because he's going to be absolutely moonwalking. And not only that, he forced his way into the England squad. Even after Gareth Southgate has come and said, oh no, it's too early for him, changed Gareth Southgate's mind, which we know is not hard to do, but still you have to go and do it. Changed his mind, makes a cameo appearance, and everyone went, whoa. Starts in the next game and he gets man of the match, on top of being man of the match in the FA Cup. What a season. Honestly, Kobby Mayu should be sitting at home in his bucket hat just going, damn, wow, what is going on? What is going to happen for him at the Euros? I don't think he's going to have Nothing happened for him at the Euros. I can see a mad goal. I can see some mad performances. I just don't know if Gareth Southgate's got the bottle to throw him in from the start, because he deserves to be thrown in from the start. What level do we see him reaching? The top. Diallo. So another quality player, another player that we only really got to start seeing towards the very back end of the season, and we liked what we saw. Yes, there's the sort of high point with what happened in the Liverpool game. I thought it was the intelligence in his play, the ability to receive the ball in tight areas and keep the ball in tight areas, and then do something useful with it, whether it was an attacking dribble or whether it was finding somebody else in space that was running off him. I just thought there was really sensible decisions, and I think that there's a little bit of chemistry when you see Mayu and Diallo play together. There feels like there's a bit of chemistry between the two of them, that they're both on the same sort of wavelength, and I think that's powerful. He only made 12 appearances last season, which was far too few. I thought he had a decent impact in the games that he had. It was 469 minutes. But I think he really impressed. He had 2 crucial goals against Liverpool and Newcastle in the league. He got 1 assist. And after the quality that we saw at Sunderland, that was a real great way to introduce yourself to the Premier League. Is he good enough to be the starting sort of right-sided player? Well, at the club at the moment, he's the best one. He's the best one, because I consider Garnacho off the left, and I think it'd be tight between him and Garnacho. I might lean towards Diallo because of the maturity in his game. But I would say from those who start off the right, he's the best one at the moment. I don't think we've seen what his true potential can be just yet in a United shirt, but I see more in his game than I see in Anthony's game. And we paid 80 million for Anthony, so Anthony was bought as a starter. This kid's better than him. If you just walk yourself through it logically, then he should be good enough to be a starter. The problem is, Anthony's nowhere near good enough to be a starter, which doesn't automatically mean that Diallo is the level that you require. He's just better than Anthony. 469 minutes isn't enough to make you go, oh, definitely has to start next season. I think there's still maybe or maybe not. Garnacho, the first teenager that scored for us in the FA Cup final, and I think he's had a really good season. I wouldn't say it's been sensational. I think the numbers have been okay. I think the decision-making, as a lot of you think I've got an agenda against him, I don't have an agenda against him. I'm just not prepared to call something that's okay amazing, because it's a kid that's doing it. When Mayu's doing things that are amazing, we will talk about them as amazing. But when he's doing things that are quite ordinary, we say that. And I think that's the case with Garnacho. I love how direct he is. I think, for me, he's still probably an impact player off the bench, because I think that he's got this tempo which is amplified when it comes on in the 60th, 70th minute against tired defences. I don't necessarily think he's got enough in his locker to stand up defenders 1v1 and go past them. And that's not to say other people in the squad have got that, because I think we lack that across the whole squad, in all honesty. But I do think that there has to be more to Garnacho's game. Now, I thought the FA Cup final, the perfect stage to have a good performance, he had a very, very good performance. His decision-making was fine. It wasn't the sort of selfish, I need a shot before anybody else kind of thinking that we've seen from him that has sort of annoyed me in the past. It was a really, really mature performance, arguably one of his best of the season. He gets on the score sheet. He's a constant threat, where he uses the being direct, and a little bit similar to Rashford, where you give him the sort of space in behind the defender and he's on and he's away. Whereas if you ask him to come to feet and then try and beat a low block, it's a long day. Without overlapping fullbacks, it's a long day. I think, he scored goal of the season. He got 50 appearances. 10 goals and 5 assists is very solid. It's not, let's not start rewriting history. It's very, very good. It's just not, it's not world-class yet, and I don't think he's world-class yet. I do think he's got the potential, because I think he has the temperament, and I think he has the confidence, and I think he has the desire to be up there. So I think he could go on to great things. Is he going to be a starter next season? I think it depends on whether Rashford stays or goes, and Rashford's form. Because based on Rashford's form this year, yes, he is. If Rashford can reclaim the form, I think Rashford currently, not on form, I think just on raw ability, is a better player. On form, he's not. But that's not to say that Garnacho can't overtake him, because I think he could. Hojlund. Now, I saw a stat yesterday, which was that Hojlund scores... If I'd have said to you that Hojlund scores more than Harry Kane, you'd probably laugh at me. Because you're like, he just doesn't score. Like, Kane scored 3 times as many goals as he has. But here's the difference, right? Rasmus scores with every 3.27 shots. Every 3.27 shots. So every 4th shot, there's a goal. Less than. Every 3.5 shots. Nearly every 3 shots. Which just shows you how few shots he gets. I saw a stat yesterday, so I had to look into it. That Harry Kane has had 146 shots in the league. And I was like, wow, that's a lot. I wonder how many Hojlund's had. So I looked. How many do you reckon he's had? 38. Kane's had 112 shots more than him. No, 108 shots more than him. Or something. Maths, how's that work? Anyway, he's had over a fucking 100 shots more than him. I was like, well, what's the ratio? So, 3.27 shots per goal for Hojlund. 3.84 shots per goal for Kane. He's a deadly finisher than Kane. But he has no... Like, Kane doesn't come off without any shots in games. Kane always comes away with shots in games. And Hojlund doesn't. Now, massively, I'm going to say 75% of that is on the team. The team needs to find him. You remember what Fergie said to Van Persie? Was that because Van Persie was a bad striker and he wasn't doing the right movement off the ball? No, it's on the teammates to find him. You know, if Fergie was saying that to, Giggs and Scholes and Rooney, then I think the United players maybe need reminding of similar thing. That's not to say that he's on the same par as Van Persie. But you can't be having your striker coming off the pitch with no shots on target. It doesn't make any sense. And then I think 25% of you getting shots is on you. So let's say you've got to come off with at least 4 shots, right? I think based on those numbers, we have to provide Rasmus Hojlund with 4 shots a game. And based on that, he scores 1 goal a game. Based on that, you give him 4 shots. So many times he came off with 1 shot, 1 goal. And so many times he came off with no shots and obviously no goals. So I'm going to say it's on the team to give him 3 shots. And it's on him to work for 1 shot every game. And I think if you did that ratio, you coming off the pitch saying, did we hit that target? Did we not hit that target? Okay, then we have to do better, don't we? So... And then if his numbers drop from there, then we don't have to start comparing him to the likes of Harry Kane and some of the best goal scorers around there. But the stats so far prove that he can score goals. He's had a real healthy return without really healthy sort of passing. 43 appearances, 16 goals. Was it 2 assists? No one's sitting there going, wow, I'll tell you what, polished off that Ballon d'Or, start writing Rasmus Hojlund on the bottom of it. No one's doing that on 16 goals, although that was how many Michael Owen scored in 2001 to get a Ballon d'Or, but that's irrelevant. 16 goals is not enough to be considered one of the greats. So we have to start giving him more opportunities. Now, when you look at how many opportunities he had, like his XG versus Darwin Núñez, you know what I mean? But we saw in Darwin Núñez, I did a worry with Darwin Núñez where we literally said, hey, there's a lot of shots, and he misses a lot of shots, and then what happens? He comes to the Prem, he's missing loads of fucking shots. Hojlund doesn't. He's scoring goals on not a lot of chances. So get him more chances and let's see what happens. I don't know what the ceiling is for him, but guess what? He will be starting because he's the only striker at the club. Not even Charlie McNeil's going to be putting pressure on him because he ain't there no more. So, yeah, I think he needs that. And then Willy Kambwala. Now, Willy Kambwala broke through, a little bit of a surprise, got more minutes than I think anyone, including him, think. Had some good performances. That Liverpool one sticks out in particular. Good performance. The sort of performance where you go, don't get injured, which unfortunately he did, and see where you can build on this, because that's some bloody good experience and a good performance that came up. And I'm always going to favour a player that starts getting after it with the fans as well, which he did. And sometimes a lucky opportunity is all it needs, and he got that lucky break. And I think if Ten Hag sticks around, I think he's already won the trust of Erik Ten Hag. So I think he'll probably be someone that he likes to stick around if he manages to keep that. That was me pressing the horn there. It's really sensitive in this car. He racked up 8 appearances in the league, 2 in the cup, and 3 in the Carabao Cup. I'm not going to sit here and say I think that there's a world-class player in them or not, but I think there's a tidy backup player for sure. If he goes on to be the sort of John O'Shea of this team, well, that's a role that needs filling, and it's a role that, you can spend 20, 30, 40 million trying to find a player that fits that, and Kambwala could probably do that for nothing. And sometimes those players pop up with big goals and big performances, and is being a John O'Shea such a bad thing? Did he rack up 400 appearances for United? I wish I was John O'Shea. I think that's 5 players that could all have a serious future at United. We haven't touched on Shea Lacey, who I think we touched on ahead of last summer and thought we could do something on the tour. I think we doubled down on that and say he could really do something on the tour. He didn't go on the last one. But with there being the Euros, I think the likes of Harry Amas and Shea Lacey, because of the Euros, will probably end up going on the tour this time and probably end up getting minutes. Are they good enough to be United players? We don't know. But this is the opportunity for us to find out, in it is to go and see what they can do in a game with the first team where you can compare them, because it's all right watching them in youth tournaments, and I know they've both been doing bits for England, but you need to see them against men with the first team so you can actually compare them. It's in United's DNA to trust the youth. It's in United's DNA to always kind of promote the youth, more so than any other club, and I don't think United harp on about it anywhere near as much as they could from a marketing point of view. They don't really do that. But we've just won the FA Cup for the 13th time. We're back in Europe next year, although there's a little bit of a complication to figure out with Nice. And it feels good knowing that we did it with a bit of a foundation of youth in there. So, positive signs. I'm enjoying it. Any thoughts on that? Any players that we missed? I mean, not really touched on Wheatley because didn't see enough from him. Howson, I thought, had a pretty poor debut, but we will see what goes on with those. I mean, let me know your thoughts on all of them in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.